The threefold death, which is suffered by kings, heroes, and gods, is a putatively Proto-Indo-European theme, although it is attested in medieval accounts of Celtic and Germanic mythology and archaeologically attested from ancient bodies such as Lindow Man. Some proponents of the trifunctional hypothesis distinguish two types of threefold deaths in Indo-European myth and ritual. In the first type of threefold death, one person dies simultaneously in three ways. He dies by hanging, by drowning, and by wounding. These three deaths are foretold, and are often punishment for an offense against the three functions of Indo-European society. The second form of the threefold death is split into three distinct parts. These distinct deaths are sacrifices to three distinct gods of the three functions, the Lindow Man and other bog bodies. German scientist Alfred Deek estimated that there were over 1,860 known bog bodies in Europe. Archaeologist Don Brothwell considers that many of the older bodies need re-examining with modern techniques, such as those used in the analysis of Lindow Man. The study of bog bodies, including these found in Lindow Moss, have contributed to a wider understanding of well-preserved human remains, helping to develop new methods in analysis and investigation. The use of sophisticated techniques such as computer tomography scans has marked the investigation of the Lindow bodies as particularly important. Such scans allow the reconstruction of the body and internal examination. Of the 27 bodies recovered from lowland raised mares in England and Wales, only those from Lindow Moss and the remains of Worsley Man have survived, together with the shoe from another body. The remains have a date range from the early 1st to the 4th centuries. Investigation into the other bodies relies on contemporary descriptions of the discovery. The physical evidence allows a general reconstruction of how Lindow Man was killed, although some details are debated, but it does not explain why he was killed. In northwest England, there is little evidence for religious or ritual activity in the Iron Age period. What evidence does survive is usually in the form of artifacts recovered from peat bogs. Late Iron Age burials in the region often took the form of a crouched inhumation, sometimes with personal ornaments. Although dated to the mid-1st century AD, the type of burial of Lindow Man was more common in the prehistoric period. In the later half of the 20th century, it was a common assumption that bog bodies demonstrating injuries to the neck or head area were ritualistic in nature. Bog bodies were associated with Germanic and Celtic cultures, specifically relating to head worship. According to Brothwell, it is one of the most complex examples of overkill in a bog body, and possibly has ritual meaning as it was extravagant for a straightforward murder or perfunctory execution. Archaeologists John Hodgson and Mark Brennan suggest that bog bodies may have been related to religious practice, although there is division in the academic community over this issue, and in the case of Lindow Man, whether the killing was murder or ritualistic is still debated, and Ross, an expert on Iron Age religion, proposed that the death was an example of human sacrifice and that the triple death was an offering to several different gods. The wide date range for Lindow Man's death means he may have met his demise after the Romans conquered northern England in the 60s AD. As the Romans outlawed human sacrifice, this opens up other possibilities. This was emphasized by historian Ronald Hutton, who challenged the interpretation of sacrificial death. Connolly suggests that as Lindow Man was found naked, he could have been the victim of a violent robbery. Joy said, "The jury really is still out on these bodies, whether they were aristocrats, priests, criminals, outsiders, whether they went willingly to the deaths or whether they were executed." But Lindow was a very remote place in those days, an unlikely place for an ambush or a murder.